Hello and welcome to For the Love of Truth. This is a soundbite episode number 259.3 and is taken from the larger episode 259. In this soundbite, author Ludwig Gartz offers a deeper look into his work on the knowledge and meaning within some of the fairy tales. His book covers more than 30 of the fairy tales, and in this soundbite he discusses Rumpelstiltskin and Hansel and Gretel. If you'd like to listen to the full fascinating discussion I had with Ludwig, please see the description of this podcast or video.
The next book was on the fairy tales, where I go into the depth of the fairy tales, because they all, not all, but most of them go to a certain aspect of the nineness of the human mind and only talk about that. Do you know Rumpelstiltskin? You don't know the fairy tales well, right?
I don't know them well. It was a long time ago, but I remember being ready as a child, yeah.
Yeah. So the analogously to the automatisms of money, we have the human mind is about, the first part is about our provision with energy, or the topic is provision or supply. The second topic is the topic of exchange. The third topic is the topic of togetherness in social togetherness. The fourth, and on the mental level, the first is the topic of self-esteem, of self-value. The next one is power. The next one is law. The next one is then on the spiritual level is the sense of meaning. And then the next one is our sense of being, and then is our spiritual consciousness. That's the nineness. And Rumpelstiltskin, for instance, belongs to the fourth, because it's about self-value, because it starts off with a miller who claims that his daughter is able to make straw into gold. So it's about this boasting. And I can do this. So that's a topic trying to enlarge his own value. So the whole thing is, what do we do? Making straw into gold is making something that is not gold. Stands for our true self that is shining out of itself. And making straw into gold is creating a picture out of ourselves, pretending that is us. Yeah. So it's pretending to be someone better, bigger, whatever than you feel you are. And then the king asks more and more straw to be made into gold, because once you start doing that, you have to produce more and more of that to be this super person that you have shown the world to be. To keep them believing that this is you. But of course it is not you, it's just a certain surface that you're showing. So what happens ultimately is that the Rumpelstiltskin, the little, it's described as a little ridiculous man. This is a symbol for this ego that tries to be much bigger than we feel we are. And he ultimately claims the child of the princess. And the child of the princess is our true self. So we come to a point, if we do that, if we provide a picture of ourselves that is much bigger than we feel we are, and we have to keep doing that, if we don't stop doing that, we ultimately lose ourselves. We lose our true being, our true identity. That's the loss of the child. And then when she sees, okay, when we come to the point that we feel, man, I'm completely losing myself. I'm completely losing who I really am. I can't do this. I can't continue this. Then comes the quest for, why am I making this problem? What is the real problem? And the solution is here, that she has to find out the name of this Rumpelstiltskin. which means you have to be, if you do that, you have to be very honest about what you're doing and authentically communicating, well, I've been doing this so that you think better of me, and I've done this, so that you really show who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And then this whole thing goes and no longer controls you.
Mm.
So that's one aspect that is of the human mind shone upon by one fairy tales, and in a similar manner, all these fairy tales, they really highlight certain aspects of the human mind and what the problem is and how we come out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the book about the fairy tales.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. Do you happen to know the fairy tale Hansel and Gretel? It's one of these grim tales.
Yeah. Vaguely.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since
is
I
it
read
the
it.
same?
Yeah.
Did they keep the same names in English? I don't know.
Yes, they did. Yeah.
Hansel and Gretel.
Yeah.
So you have this house made out of cake, and then the evil witch.
Hmm.
And that's how they work. They give you all these temptations to do things that are wrong. They tell you, do whatever you like. It's this liberalism. And then the work goes into chaos because of the rampant egoism of people.
Mm-hmm.
And then they say, look, you're so evil. You can't even get along with each other. You can't respect nature. You cannot. Now we have to force you. That's the evil witch.
Mm-hmm.
So they always do both.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. And the fairy tale already tells us that this is how they do it.
Mm-hmm. But how many youngsters don't know the fairy tales anymore that weren't read them?
Yeah, that's why I wrote a whole book about it, with the interpretation of like 32 fairy tales of the ancient German fairy tales.
I look forward to reading that when it's in English.
Yeah, would be the next one would be the Ringwraith, which is about Atlantis, and after that would probably be the fairy tales.
Okay, all right. That would be really interesting because there's so much information in there if you just want to unpack them.
Yeah, there's so much spiritual information. There's so much about all the things it means, what it means to be fundamentally means to be human. There's so much in it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.